This is one in which I was pretty quick to go in and bet, pretty quick to take a position on, and pretty steadfast in how I believe that this division is going to go. As we sit right now, the Jags are your favorite at -155. You can see on your screen right now. Titans +350. Colts are 6-1, and then the Texans are 8-1 to win the division. If you think the Jags can win the whole conference 14-1, then it really, really gets big on these other teams. Titans 55, Colts 70, and of course Texans at 100. And then Titans, Colts, and Texans aren't winning the Super Bowl. 30-1 if you want the Jags to win the Super Bowl. None of those other teams win the Super Bowl. Doesn't matter. I don't need to tell you the odds.
Our graphic doesn't even have the Texans on the board.
It's not happening. So it's no point in us even doing that. I mean, this is a division in which by the end of the year, we very well could have 3 rookie quarterbacks starting. We're going to have 2 for sure. The Colts have already come out and said Anthony Richardson's going to be their opening day starter. The Texans have given that to C.J. Stroud as well. We know that the Titans did draft Will Levis. Will Levis had a setback in camp from an injury standpoint. Probably was going to go with Ryan Tannehill anyway to start the year. There's no financial commitment by this Titans team to Ryan Tannehill beyond this season. And so if this season goes like I think it could for this Titans squad, I believe that we end up seeing Will Levis towards the end of the year as it is anyway. And so it could be 3 rookie quarterbacks going in this division with Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. I think Jags are a pretty good bet here, Kelley. I got them early. I bet them as soon as these numbers all started coming out. Listen, I've never been a fan of this Titans team as it is anyway. Certainly not a fan of Ryan Tannehill. And so when I'm looking at, hey, what is their motivation really to continue to play Tannehill throughout the course of the season if they're, sitting 500 or something like that? The motivation's really none. Yeah. You need to see what you have in Will Levis as it is anyway. I think they kind of have a decent idea of what they have in Malik Willis. They didn't want to play him last year when they really needed to play him last year, and they went out and got guys off the street to play. So that's why they take Will Levis. They need to figure out what they've got in him. And so I was really, really bullish on the Jags in this division because I don't think the Colts are going to be very good. I don't think the Texans are going to be very good. Maybe the Texans a bet on team kind of on a week-to-week basis if they start to kind of gel somewhere along the way, because they're not completely devoid of talent, but I think it's going to take C.J. Stroud and those guys kind of working in the offense a little bit more. You just kind of look. I know there are some people out there who aren't near as high on Calvin Ridley coming back as I am, but again, it's a guy that's not coming off of an injury. It's a guy that's coming off of a parlay, and so for me, I take a look, and now you can move Chris Kirk into that wide receiver 2 role, which is by far the more natural role for him. He's not a wide receiver 1, and so you get to have Ridley be your 1. You get to have Kirk be your 2 now, which is more natural position for him, which actually should benefit him in the long run. And Trevor Lawrence continues to kind of start to look like that guy that coming out of Clemson, everybody said was this can't-miss prospect, certainly towards down the stretch last year. I thought we saw some really, really good play out of Trevor Lawrence. And you and I have talked offline about all of this. And, this was something that was not abnormal in the NFL even 6-7 years ago, but Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert basically ruined the idea that guys need development in the NFL. And like they stepped in and looked like all pros day one, right? Like let's just put Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame after their rookie seasons. That is like an anomaly and certainly not the norm, and has not been the norm basically since the beginning of the NFL, right? Like guys taking a little time to adjust and kind of coming into their own in years 2, 3, maybe even 4 was something that we saw on the regular. Now, because of what we saw with Burrow and Herbert, guys step in. If they have a bad game in their first 4 games, like, this guy's a bust. Get him out of here. Right. He's horrible. And so, I think we saw Trevor Lawrence last year kind of start to play like the Trevor Lawrence that people were saying he could be. And if that's the case, in a very weak division, in my opinion, I think this is Jags all the way. It was the first bet that I made in my account as soon as division numbers came out. That number has now drifted a little bit, but I think even still at 150, it's something. I mean, it's something I would be looking at.
That's where I bet it at. I think it was minus 150 by the time I got to it. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I bet it basically as soon as they opened up as well. I don't even really know if you and I talked about it, offline ahead of time. We might have just made those separately, but that was, agree with everything you said. We have talked about the Jags a fair amount on this show, and it's I know I've gotten some pushback on this. Look, I am very bullish. This is my favorite bet of all NFL bets. We're going to go over kind of everything that we do have in our portfolio so far later in the show. This is still my favorite bet heading into the season, though, is the Jags to win this division. For a lot of the cases that you just laid out, are there some concerns with this team? Sure, there's still some concerns. Is this one of the better defenses in the NFL? No, it's not. Could there be some offensive line problems here early on? Yeah, there could be. I think all those issues could exist. There's a reason, though, why I bet them to win the division and not bet over their win total. Even though I think that most likely happens, but this division is terrible, and it's going to be a very easy division schedule. The rest of their outside division schedule is not necessarily easy. They do play some tough teams on there, and I think once this team gets to the playoffs, Matt, I'm not a huge believer in them going super far in the playoffs, but as far as us talking just regular season and divisions, this team is so far above everybody else in that division. It's an easy bet for me to make.
Yeah, you should be staring down 4-2 after the first 6 weeks, and if that's the case, they're going to be in a really good position to go ahead and win this division. You have 2 games against the Colts in the first 6 weeks of the season, mixed in with the Texans and the Falcons. Like, this should be a 4-2 team. I'm chalking up losses to Chiefs and Bills, though I do wonder if they're a little bit closer to those teams than maybe we even realize at this point. You get to week 7, Saints and Steelers games, 7 and 8. Probably going to be difficult games, but winnable games for sure whenever we look at the Saints and Steelers. And then they are one of the teams that really benefit from one of those mid-season buys, right? Like a week 9 buy. I bet you if you did a poll of every single GM on the face of the planet or every single head coach, they would probably tell you somewhere between week 8 and 10 is where I would really like to buy, to be like dead center of the season. Let's go ahead and reassess what happened the first half and then also get rid of some of those bumps and bruises. And so you come out of there, hard game against the 49ers, but boy, now we go Titans, Texans, and then we get on the back end, Bucks, Panthers, Titans. That was my key here for Jags bets. If you need them to get home, Kelley, what better stretch towards the end of the year to get in Bucks, Panthers, and Titans, right? To try to get either a win total bet home or a division bet total home or whatever it might be for this team. And so I really like the way that it kind of set up for them to get the early wins and then being able to finish strong as well on all of that. So really, really do like the Jags. And I think I like the Jags just as much as I dislike kind of the rest of these teams.
Yeah. And I think just, looking at where in those, like we talk about the division being, an easy path for them already. Even look at when the Colts and Titans games happen. It almost lines up perfectly for when you would want to play those teams for what we at least think is going to happen with the Tennessee Titans. And we think that means a quarterback change at some point in the season. Okay. You play the Colts early, but both of those games get out of the way pretty early. So you got Anthony Richardson still trying to pick things up early on. You get to play them then, and the Titans you get to play basically on the back end of your schedule. Yep. And okay, you might not even be facing a Ryan Tannehill fully loaded Tennessee team then.
I mean, that Week 18 game against the Titans very well could be like Will Levis's first start. Like it's the last game of the year and they throw him in there and you're going to be getting a rookie quarterback making his first start in the NFL. I mean, like that game is going to be that game sets up perfect for them. Look, on the Colts side of things, Anthony Richardson is going to make plays. He's going to do things that make your jaw drop, and he's going to do other things where you go like, I can't believe this guy's an NFL quarterback. That's going to be the ups and downs you get with him over the course of the season. Certainly no Jonathan Taylor isn't going to help if he does get out of town. I think the Texans might be interesting on a week-to-week basis to bet, depending on what the spread is, because like I said, there is actually some talent on that roster. It really does depend on how quickly kind of C.J. Stroud can get into the NFL game, but they're not completely talentless. And so I think that maybe if we find some situations where the spread might be a little out of whack for that Texans team, and like we're not betting them to win a bunch of games, Kelley, but we just need them to stay within the spread a few different times, and I think maybe that might be one of the teams that I'm looking at a lot.
If you listen to the show the other day when we went over those wins match bets too, I think there's some good opportunities with the Texans actually with some good value in those.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.